Love him or hate him, Jon Jones is the most dominant and controversial fighter in MMA history. But with his career nearing its end, will he retire as the undisputed GOAT or take on one final challenge? The legacy of Jon Jones. Jon Bones Jones is one of the most dominant and controversial figures in MMA history. From the moment he entered the UFC in 2008, it was clear that he was something special. His unique blend of size, skill, and fight IQ set him apart from everyone else in the light heavyweight division. At just 23 years old, he became the youngest champion in UFC history by dismantling Mauricio Shogun Rua in a one-sided beatdown. But that was only the beginning. Jones didn't just win fights, he made it look easy. He ran through a list of legendary fighters, defeating former champions and top contenders one after another. Names like Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Vitor Belfort, and Glover Teixeira all fell before him. His reign stretched over a decade, and he never lost his belt in the octagon, only outside of it due to suspensions and controversies. What made his dominance so impressive was his adaptability. Whether he was facing an elite striker or a world-class wrestler, Jones always found a way to win. His massive 84.5-inch reach gave him an edge in striking, but he also had phenomenal wrestling, unpredictable creativity, and an ironclad will to win. He fought wars, like his legendary battle against Alexander Gustafsson, and he dominated rivals, like his 2 victories over Daniel Cormier. Even when the competition caught up, Jones still found a way to stay ahead. His last fight at light heavyweight, a razor-close decision win over Dominic Reyes, led many to believe he was slowing down. But instead of staying in the division, Jones made a move that many doubted. He went up to heavyweight, where he silenced critics once again by capturing the title in his very first fight against Cyril Gane. No fighter in MMA history has had a career quite like Jon Jones. He has the records, the title defenses, and the legacy of a champion who ruled for over a decade. But his story isn't just about dominance. It's about controversy, comebacks, and the ongoing debate over whether he is the greatest fighter of all time. Fighting style and skill set. Jon Jones isn't just a fighter, he's a technician, a strategist, and an innovator inside the octagon. His style is unlike anyone else's, blending unorthodox striking, elite wrestling, and a high-level fight IQ that allows him to adapt to any opponent. One of his biggest weapons is his incredible reach, at 84.5 inches. It's one of the longest in UFC history. This gives him a huge advantage in controlling distance, keeping opponents at bay with kicks and jabs while staying out of their striking range. But Jones is far from just a long-range striker. He's a master of unpredictability, using spinning elbows, oblique kicks, and creative attacks that opponents struggle to prepare for. His ability to mix up striking with takedowns makes him dangerous in every area of the fight. Unlike many strikers, he's also an elite wrestler, having taken down Olympic-level competitors like Daniel Cormier. His ground game is equally dangerous. Once he takes opponents down, his vicious elbows and top control leave little room for escape. Perhaps the most underrated aspect of his skill set is his fight IQ. Jones doesn't just rely on raw talent. He studies his opponents, finds their weaknesses, and adjusts his game plan mid-fight. If he's struggling on the feet, he wrestles. If he can't get takedowns, he picks opponents apart with long-range strikes. His ability to stay calm under pressure and break down elite fighters mentally and physically has been a key part of his dominance. Throughout his career, Jones has faced every type of fighter, power punchers, wrestlers, jiu-jitsu specialists, and has beaten them all. His skill set isn't just about what he does best, but about his ability to take away what his opponents do best. Whether he's outstriking a striker or out-wrestling a wrestler, Jon Jones has proven time and again why he's one of the most complete fighters in MMA history. Biggest rivalries. Jon Jones' career isn't just defined by his dominance. It's also marked by some of the most intense and personal rivalries in MMA history. Whether it was bad blood outside the octagon or wars inside it, Jones has clashed with some of the sport's greatest fighters in matchups that shaped his legacy. Perhaps his most heated and personal rivalry was with Daniel Cormier. The two couldn't stand each other from the moment they met, and their feud spilled into press conferences, interviews, and even a backstage brawl. They fought twice. Jones won both times, though the second was overturned due to a failed drug test. Despite the controversy, their rivalry remains one of the biggest in UFC history. Another unforgettable rivalry was against Alexander Gustafsson. When they first fought in 2013, Gustafsson shocked the world by taking Jones to the limit, cutting him open and even taking him down, a feat no one else had achieved. It was a 5-round war that many consider one of the greatest fights of all time. Jones ultimately won by decision, and years later, he defeated Gustafsson decisively in their rematch. Jones has also had controversial fights, like his razor-close decision against Dominic Reyes. Many fans and analysts believed Reyes won that fight, and it remains one of the most debated results in Jones' career. Though he got the official victory, it was clear that the gap between Jones and his challengers was shrinking. One of the biggest what-if rivalries in MMA is Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Fans dreamed of seeing the greatest light heavyweight of all time take on the most powerful puncher in UFC history, but the fight never materialized. Ngannou left the UFC, and Jones moved up to heavyweight, leaving the question unanswered. What would have happened if these two had met in the octagon? From legendary battles to heated trash talk, Jon Jones' biggest rivalries have helped define his career. Whether through decisive victories or controversial decisions, he has always found a way to stay ahead, further cementing his place as one of the greatest to ever do it. Controversies and setbacks. For all of Jon Jones' greatness inside the octagon, his career has been equally defined by controversies outside of it. No matter how dominant he was, troubles seemed to follow him, leading to suspensions, legal issues, and questions about what his career could have been if he had stayed out of trouble. One of the biggest controversies in his career was his multiple failed drug tests. Jones tested positive for banned substances on several occasions, leading to suspensions and overturned victories. His most infamous case was after his rematch with Daniel Cormier in 2017, where he originally won by knockout, but later had the result changed to a no contest due to testing positive for turinabol, an anabolic steroid. Though he always denied intentional cheating, these incidents cast a shadow over his legacy. Legal troubles also plagued Jones throughout his career. He was arrested multiple times, including a hit-and-run incident in 2015, where he fled the scene after crashing his car, leaving a pregnant woman injured. The UFC stripped him of his title as a result. In 2021, he was arrested again for domestic violence, just hours after being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. These incidents led to widespread criticism, with many questioning whether Jones would ever truly change. Even inside the octagon, his career was not without setbacks. His only official loss came from a disqualification against Matt Hamill for using illegal 12 to 6 elbows in a fight he was completely dominating. Many consider it an unfair ruling, and Dana White himself has argued that Jones should still be considered undefeated. Despite these controversies, Jones has always managed to return and reclaim his spot at the top. Each time he was counted out, he found a way to come back stronger. His story is one of both greatness and self-destruction, making him one of the most polarizing figures in MMA history. Some see him as the greatest of all time. Others see wasted potential. But one thing is undeniable. Jon Jones' career has never been boring. Move to heavyweight. For years, fans speculated about whether Jon Jones would ever move up to heavyweight. He had cleared out the light heavyweight division, defending his title multiple times and beating every major contender. But questions remained. Could he dominate against bigger, stronger opponents? Would his skill set translate to a division filled with knockout artists? After years of teasing the move, Jones finally made the jump, and once again, he proved why he is one of the greatest fighters of all time. His heavyweight debut came against Cyril Gane in March 2023 for the vacant UFC heavyweight title. Many believed Gane's speed and striking would pose a challenge, but Jones made it look easy. In just over 2 minutes, he took Gane down and submitted him with a guillotine choke, becoming a 2-division champion in dominant fashion. It was a statement win. After 3 years away from competition, Jones returned and showed that he could still be just as dominant in a new weight class. With the belt around his waist, the next fight was set. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, the most accomplished heavyweight champion in UFC history. It was a dream matchup between two legends of the sport, scheduled for late 2024. However, an injury forced Jones out of the fight, delaying his first title defense. Meanwhile, the heavyweight division kept moving, with Tom Aspinall winning the interim championship. This opened up new possibilities. Would Jones fight Aspinall to unify the belts, or would he retire after facing Miocic? The uncertainty surrounding his future only added to the intrigue. Jones' move to heavyweight wasn't just about proving he could win in a new division. It was about cementing his legacy. If he defeats Miocic, he could walk away as the greatest to ever do it. But if he stays, a fight against Aspinall or another rising contender could add another chapter to his already legendary career. Jon Jones outside the octagon. While Jon Jones is best known for his dominance in the UFC, his life outside the octagon has been just as eventful. From his social media presence to his financial success and family background, Jones has remained in the spotlight whether he's fighting or not. Financially, Jones has had a lucrative career, but estimates of his net worth vary widely, ranging from $3 million to $20 million. While he has earned millions from fight purses, sponsorships, and pay-per-view bonuses, his frequent suspensions and legal troubles have cost him endorsement deals. At his peak, he was sponsored by major brands like Nike and Gatorade, but those partnerships ended following his controversies. Despite this, Jones has remained one of the UFC's highest-paid athletes. On social media, Jones has a massive following. His Instagram and Twitter accounts, @JohnnyBones, have millions of followers, where he shares training updates, personal reflections, and sometimes controversial opinions. His online presence has been a mix of inspiration, trash talk, and moments of vulnerability, keeping fans engaged even when he's not competing. Beyond his own career, Jones comes from an athletic family. His brothers, Arthur and Chandler Jones, had successful careers in the NFL, playing as defensive linemen. Chandler, in particular, became a Super Bowl champion and one of the league's top pass rushers. The Jones brothers' success across different sports showcases the family's natural athleticism and competitive drive. Despite his ups and downs, Jones remains a global figure in combat sports. Whether he's training for a fight, engaging with fans, or making headlines for the wrong reasons, Jon Jones' presence is always felt. Love him or hate him, he's one of the most talked about athletes in MMA history. What's next? As Jon Jones nears the end of his career, the biggest question remains, what comes next? Will he retire after facing Stipe Miocic, or will he continue fighting to solidify his legacy even further? Right now, Jones is scheduled to fight Miocic, the most decorated heavyweight in UFC history. If he wins, it would be another massive achievement, adding yet another legendary name to his resume. However, Jones has hinted that he might retire after this fight, walking away on top as a two-division champion. If that happens, he would leave the sport as one of the most accomplished fighters ever. But retirement isn't the only option. The rise of Tom Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion, has created a new challenge that fans want to see. Aspinall's speed, knockout power, and well-rounded skills make him a dangerous opponent, and many believe he could be the toughest test for Jones at heavyweight. If Jones truly wants to silence all doubts, a fight against Aspinall would be the perfect way to do it. Beyond fighting, Jones has also expressed interest in coaching, business ventures, and giving back to the community. Whether he remains involved in MMA or chooses a different path, his name will always be linked to the sport. Despite all the controversies, setbacks, and doubts, one thing is certain. Jon Jones' legacy as one of the greatest fighters in history is already secured. The only question left is how he chooses to write the final chapter of his career.